It's kind of crazy to say, but it does seem like we're really close to basketball being back, assuming that positive cases don't blow up in the bubble over the next couple of days. And the 76ers have been doing some things, specifically trying, basically swapping out Al Horford for Shake Milton in the starting lineup and getting a lot more athleticism and ball handling and shooting in there, and having 4 dudes who are going to be on the perimeter, and then Ben Simmons having a little bit more power forward duties, set some more screens, and Horford, for as much of a kind of stretch dude as he is, he's not just standing on the three-point line all day, so you get it. It's the basic spacing thing with the 76ers and all that. And throwing Shake Milton into the mix definitely gives Philly more shooting. I mean, even if Horford is a good shooter, what I just said, but also Horford, he takes so long to shoot, it's like you can close out on him, you know what I mean? So anyway, Shake Milton. First thing to think about here is how good of a shooter really is he? Well, based on all the evidence we have, which is 3 years in college and then his NBA career so far, Shake Milton is legit from outside. I mean, in college, he played what? He played 87 games in college over 3 years, shot 445 threes, which comes out to basically 5 3-point attempts a game, and he shot 43% on them. That's very good. Of course, it's a little closer than the NBA three-point line, but that's great nonetheless. His last year of college, he shot 85% at the free throw line, and the shooting has pretty much carried over. So that's pretty massive to me. I mean, the fact now that Philly, if they're really going to commit to this, I haven't seen for a fact if this is going to be the starting 5, but if it is, then it gives a lot of guys that Ben Simmons can screen for. I mean, he can screen for Shake, Tobias, or Richardson, really. I mean, all 3 of those dudes can do something off the dribble, with Shake probably being the best one. I don't think Shake is an amazing ball handler, but he's certainly better than your average 2-guard, I guess. I mean, I think in college he was more of a point. In the NBA, I don't think he's a good enough ball handler to be all the way a point guard, but that's fine, because this Philly team has 4 ball handlers now in the starting 5. So, I mean, it just creates more versatility, and I think Ben Simmons can really just be doing so much off the ball at this point. Richardson could have a guy on him who you want to attack. Simmons could set a screen there, and then you could make something happen off of that, whether it's forcing the opposing team to switch or whatever you want to do. You could run some handoff plays with Ben Simmons with and without the ball, as in Simmons is the one handing it off or he's the one receiving the handoff. There's so much that can happen here, and it is really exciting to think about. And while Horford is a very smart player who you can run some of this stuff with, he's just not as quick as Milton. He's not as good of a shooter as Milton. He's not as willing of a shooter as Shake is either. So it just gives Philly a little bit more stuff. I think it makes them a little more dynamic. And it doesn't take Horford out of the lineup or anything. I mean, I think Horford is still going to play high 20s in minutes, and he could still close out games next to Embiid and Simmons and all that, especially if they end up meeting the Bucks. So that's cool. I also think between Korkmaz and Thibault as well, there is a lot of versatility that Philly can use. I mean, we could see Embiid and Horford. We can see Embiid and Simmons as your front court. We can see Embiid and Korkmaz if you want even more of a stretch guy out there. That's the other thing, is I think Philly can put a lot of guys out there because they have so many good defenders. I mean, Ben Simmons is so good defensively that he really may be able to defend anyone depending on the matchup, And that could allow you to throw a guy like Korkmaz in there who isn't the best defensive player, or if Mike Scott is having a hot night from 3, or Shake Milton, although Shake actually does project to be an okay defensive player given his wingspan and his size and everything. He's 6'5" with a very long wingspan, so he could be another guy to throw into Philly's already insane list of big defensive players. It's just a good move. It's a good move if they're really going to go forward with this. And I still think Ben Simmons is going to be doing a lot of point guard things. I don't think he's going to be off the ball all the time, but it just creates a little bit more versatility for him to set screens and all the other stuff I'm talking about. Now, with all this being said, I still think it's going to come down to just how good are Simmons and Embiid, and we have seen some Simmons shooting clips, which is not the first time we've seen them, and maybe he's finally going to take some threes now. I don't really know. I mean, it seems like we're having this conversation all the time where it's, oh, Ben Simmons is shooting more threes in practice and everything. I don't really care until he's actually doing it in games, but he's had more time to work on it, so for what that's worth. And then as for Embiid, I mean, I don't know. I mean, sometimes he's amazing, sometimes he isn't. I don't know if it's nursing an injury or if it's stamina or he just doesn't love basketball like that. Who knows? Embiid remains the most fascinating player in the NBA, pretty much. I guess if we can talk about playoff matchups now. I mean, why not? So, have I already done the whole spiel about my Celtics versus the Sixers? I did. I did a whole video on why I'm still scared of Philly. And it mainly was Embiid, his rim protection and then all that stuff. But if you throw an extra dude in there who can dribble and shoot and all that, it does make it a little tougher for the Celtics. Because I feel like the Celtics, with Horford next to Embiid, would have had a bit of an easier time defending Philly just because Horford makes them so much slower compared to Shake Milton, But now if you just force all those athletic, switchy Celtics defenders to have to close out a little faster or just have an extra ball handler to defend, like that's going to matter. It really is. And the same things can be said for the Raptors and Miami and the Pacers and the Bucks, whoever Philly ends up facing. And this does still allow them to go to Horford in the backup center minutes. And I mean, we're still going to see some Horford and Embiid, because if we don't, then Horford's only going to play like 15 minutes a game or something, So they're still going to have to find a way to make that work, but adding another dude to your rotation who can shoot and do some stuff off the dribble, never a bad thing. Never a bad thing whatsoever. Now, with all this being said, are we going to be able to see the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid pick and roll? I don't know. I mean, teams just go under Simmons so hard on those plays, and you can argue for everything Philly does, if they can never go to that type of an offense where they can just have their two best players play off of each other, then it just might put too big of a lid on how good they can be, but you make do with what you got. And I like this move. Shake Milton's good. So yeah.